On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we recap OU's win over Maine. Oh, it feels good to be back in the win column. We also recap the other great games of Week 10 of college football. And of course, we give you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast. Rate it 5 stars and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, November 3rd, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of November, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Before we get to the recap of OU-Maine, some scary tornadoes last night in the state of Oklahoma, Ted. November, that's
Yeah.
that's not what that's not good. Not what
Nope.
you're anticipating, but we knew there was some severe weather coming. Great job by all the weather people here in the state of Oklahoma, and thinking and praying for everyone that was impacted by those tornadoes last night in the middle of the night, which is just
It's
the
the worst.
absolute worst time for that stuff to happen.
I thought we had, with the amount of alarms going off in the house, I thought we were being attacked or something. It was crazy, pretty crazy, but hopefully everyone's okay.
Yeah, so thinking of all you guys that were affected by that. Now, let's talk about Oklahoma winning a football game.
Yes.
Before we recap it, I think it's important for us to point out we're fully aware that Maine sucks. We are fully aware of that. So we're not going to keep saying it over and over and over again as we recap it. We're fully aware it's an FCS opponent. They stink. OU did what you should do against an opponent like that. So let's just get that out of the way on the front end.
Yeah. Well, let's get that out of the way on the front end, but we are fully aware that also the number one comment, the top comment, uh, first comment left will say it was Maine, guys. Yeah,
We know.
we get it. We know.
We get it. We get it. All right, let's start on the defensive side of the ball for the Sooners, Ted. What'd you see from OU's defense against Maine's offense?
Uh, Solid. We had the opening drive, which um, was a little scary, going three and out, and then they went down to score a touchdown. I was like,
Should
what?
we should we talk about what we were talking about in the commercial break on the radio broadcast?
Oh my gosh. It was,
I We were in break and I flipped my mic on and went, Ted, remember when I said South Carolina was rock bottom? Nope. That wasn't rock bottom. Being down 7-0 to Maine, that was rock bottom for the program.
it was brutal. And, on that drive, it all goes back. They had that 4th and 1, right? And I still don't know what they called. I mean, I guess they're calling for the defense is barking out their communication and they get called for defensive delay of game. You could see it on film. They're all just like talking to each other. It's so bad. It's such a
I
horrible call.
I went onto the field and asked the official, hey, what happened? And he said the delay of game call was for Kip Lewis clapping. And I looked that official straight in the face and I said, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I was unaware that clapping is a penalty. And the look on his face is the way that I framed it. He was like, huh, clapping should not be a penalty. If you
Well,
are
he's
on
not
defense and
clapping
you,
on the film whenever he pulls the flag out.
I'm
So
just telling you, that's exactly what he told me.
it's bad, bad.
I
But that gives them an automatic first down. And the big play they had was that long run by the quarterback. Um, they're in end over. They got four wide receivers on one side. They run the little zone read, and there's Puller coming back to the backside, and we're late to respond to it. Backers don't come back with the action, and just creates a big play on us. Not good. We play it perfectly later, a couple of series later. Play it perfectly. It's a big tackle for loss. So yeah, we got to be a little bit better there and recognize some of these things right out of the gate. The touchdown, we're late running on the field to match their personnel, and someone lines up wrong, or well, someone lined up wrong. I'm not sure who it is, but as we go scrambling to get adjusted to kind of fit off of each other, being misaligned, we're late. We get outflanked to the flat, and it's a throw and catch right there at the pylon for a touchdown. Um, the only thing I'll say about that is we continue, even though that they like today or Saturday was not a game where they're going tempo and they're snapping the ball when we're looking at the sideline, but so we have to continue to be sharper in our substitutions, in getting the call in quickly, getting lined up quickly, to where these things don't happen. Like, to me, that play is total result of not getting lined up on time. Um, they hit an explosive play on us late where it's a little cross action. One player goes underneath, and when that player runs across and goes underneath, the corner has to climb and go play the post. He's late there. It's a great throw and catch. That got them down inside the 10 or so, and then they end up running a little reverse play and punching it in on us. We got held like crazy on that play, but again, it's there's some stuff there, but those are the two scoring drives that we saw. A deep ball where it was a great throw and catch, and we're just a little late getting there, and then really the quarterback keeper on drive one. Those are really your main plays. Everything else I thought was pretty good. We tackled really good for the most part. You see us really squeeze the line of scrimmage. Like, there's no width. Like, you get in trouble when people really spread you out and you get some of those big gaps. Our edge players were really squeezing it down, containing things, and there's just no movement up front. So we're able to limit the run really well. Um, I thought we really did a good job dominating the line of scrimmage. We didn't get a ton of we got pressure on the quarterback, but we didn't tally a bunch of sacks. They did a good job doing some rollout stuff on us, getting the ball out pretty quick. But we were winning on rushes, and there were some moments where we were coming free, but the ball was coming out so fast that we didn't really tally any real production there. We had the turnover from Robert Spears Jennings, a little bit of a mix up in the run fit on that play, and it was turning into a decent little positive game for him. But Robert Spears Jennings comes, circles back, comes from behind, and punches that ball out. And the beautiful thing about that, sometimes you come up and you put a helmet on a ball, or you go to just wrap up on a tackle and the guy fumbles, but you're not deliberately trying to knock it out. Robert Spears Jennings has, what is he, 4 forced fumbles now? I think he leads the SEC or is tied for the lead, and they're deliberate. He's deliberately coming in from behind and punching those things out, which is really good to see. That's been really nice for us. So, I mean, really, generally speaking, we got to see some good depth late. Bunch of guys came in on the defensive line. Taylor Wine came in, Stone, Sears, Ashton Sanders. We saw Danny Okoye a little bit. On the back end, we saw some of the younger guys, Boganowski, Hardy, Powers had the nice interception that was called back from roughing the passer. At backer, we saw Lewis Carter get back out there a little bit. He and Kanik played quite a few snaps. So, I mean, generally speaking, solid day. Not great because of the early drive and the late touchdown, but solid.
One of the questions I have for you is, and this defense has been very solid against the run pretty much all season long, except for a handful of plays, right? Most notably in the Texas game. It is interesting that they don't rack up more TFLs.
Yeah.
Especially in a game like this. I think what were they credited for? 6, maybe 7 TFLs. And
Yeah.
it feels like it's solid, you know what I'm saying? But it can it go to another level, maybe is my question. Because it feels like
Yeah.
there's in a game like that, when you have your opponent so outmatched, I came away going, hey, that was solid, but I feel like there should have been more negative plays.
Yeah. We did play it really basic. And I think because maybe it's RPO stuff, where the backers aren't just straight on the snap flying downhill whenever they read run. I think maybe that's one of the reasons, because on the interior we're out and those guys are controlling gaps and not just straight penetrating through. So I don't know. I mean, it's a good question, and I'm not really sure because they're attacking us on the edge quite a bit where your defensive ends are kind of holding and squeezing a little bit. They're not flying up the field. And maybe it's a result of kind of how we play those exchanges where we're not like you take South Carolina, for example, how they play it is they just scream their defensive ends like right at the point of attack. And you'll get some big explosive plays out of that on defense. But the flip side, you leave yourself really vulnerable if you don't guess right, so to speak, there at the exchange. So I don't know. Maybe a result of how we play that. But I mean, it's clear the last 2 games. I mean, I think we have absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage with our defensive line.
Yeah.
So,
Now, doing it against Ole Miss is a completely different animal than doing it against Maine.
yeah. And it
But
kind of looks the same because you just have guys that are boom, they engage, knock guys back, and then they're controlling a gap. So you don't have guys that are just blowing up field. You know what I'm saying? So I guess maybe that's why you're not getting the more plays behind the line of scrimmage. But
and
I don't know.
then the number one thing you wanted to see in this game was the miscommunication in the back end to go away
Yep.
that had been leading to some of the explosive plays that this defense has given up over the last several weeks. What did that look like? Were you pleased with the communication? Were you pleased with how things looked in the back end of the defense?
Yeah, I was. I only think I saw one time where, and I think we all ended up in the right place, but there was a little bit of panic on some motion stuff, and I think we ended up getting to the right place, but that was really limited. And maybe we were way better at it. Maybe it was a result of the more deliberate pace that Maine played with over Ole Miss, where they're trying to go really fast on you. Um, I the passing game was fairly solid. There's still some holes underneath where we aren't really tight relating to players. We're in our right zone, we're in our right area, but we're not pattern reading, recognizing the route concept and playing the route concept. We're playing I mean, there's 2 real ways some people play zone coverage by pattern reading, which means you don't have vision on the quarterback as much. You're always kind of coming back to it, but you're reading and playing the route combination. That's a way to do it. The other way is you drop to a landmark, um, like say you're in cover three where you've got four underneath zone players. Your landmark dropping. The hook players are dropping, you know, inside the hashes. The flat players are buzzing out to the numbers, right? And you go to that spot no matter really what the route concept is behind you. You get to those spots, you have your eyes on the quarterback, and you break on the football. So we play pattern read. The last group played landmarks. So the last coaching staff played landmarks more than they did pattern reading. So I know that Venables and company want them reading the pattern and getting closer to those players to where we can have tighter zone coverage and affect some of those throws a little bit more. So that still needs to come along. Guys that I thought played well, R. Mason Thomas, he is he has come a really long way. I'm forced to go back and remember that he hasn't played a whole lot of football before this season. He's been injured a bunch of times. He's had to miss last year. He was never really right and just didn't get a whole lot of play until late where it was consistent. And I he is, whenever you can see where a guy turns from a good young player to a veteran that knows what he's doing, that's what he looks like right now. He is under control, in the right spot, playing with great technique. When you really start to watch him, even though he's not a gigantic edge guy, he plays with such good low pad level, and he can just lift guys and hold them right here. Really strong. He's patient in the run game. He knows how to fit it. He's smart. I can see that he's playing things out in his head before the snap of the football to where instead of just reacting, he's anticipating before the snap. Couple of really good rushes. His get off is really, really good. I mean, I'm really impressed with where R. Mason Thomas is right now. And I know that when you watch the edge guys, what do you think of him compared to some of the other guys that we've seen? I mean, clearly, he's not a fly up the field type of rush guy, but I mean, I think he's great. I
I
think he's played excellent.
I just don't. He's our best edge guy,
Yeah.
and Ethan Downs didn't play in this game, and they need Ethan Downs back in a big way
Mm-hmm.
for these final three games. His experience, his strength, his physicality. But when you just talk about the overall package, our Mason Thomas is the best we've got.
Yeah.
I'm with you. He's held up really well at the point in the run game, and then
Way better than I ever imagined he would, frankly. I would say that it's a strength of his. You see tackles like the Ole Miss tackles they would come off the ball and fire off on him, and the head would jar backwards, and he would just boom right there. They're not going anywhere. It's impressive.
yeah, he's turning into a more complete edge guy, which is impressive because when you think about his measurables, he doesn't have like elite length for that position,
Right.
but he makes up for the lack of length by playing with really good technique.
Good technique, good pad level. And he's just the young player, like when you're trying real hard, it's a bit chaotic and you find yourself out of position because you're trying to go so fast, you end up playing slower. I mean, he's past that. It's methodical and it almost looks like he's going three-quarter speed, but he's in the exact spot right where he needs to be. I think he's doing a great job. I thought Trace Ford had a nice game, incredibly consistent, does some things really well. Had some nice effort plays in there. He's good at getting off of blocks and making tackles. Had a couple of those. On the interior, I thought Grayson Halton did some good things. I mean, like you would expect, motor, flying around. Some of the movement stuff we did up front was really good. Jaden Jackson was really good, as you'd expect. The same stuff that you always get from him. Big Dejounte Terry didn't play a whole lot again, but man, he is hard to move in there and plays good, hard physical football whenever he's out there. Um, for some of the younger guys, I thought PJ did some good things. He did a really good job on a reverse, really read his keys good. And because of reading the keys and trusting those, ended up being in a really good spot to contain a reverse play that they had. He's strong at the point of attack. The length with his arms really helps him. He did some good things. I thought Taylor Wine came in and did some really good things.
One thing on PJ, that ankle injury did not look good as he
Yeah,
walked off. So
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, he's been dealing with some injuries that got hurt in training camp that kind of held him back when it came to playing snaps early in the season. He had finally gotten healthy and seems like another setback for him, which is not what you're looking for when you're
yeah,
trying to get a guy like that to develop. So hopefully it's not as bad as it looked, but I mean, he walked off the field very gingerly.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully he's okay. Taylor Wine, I did some really nice things. He's really strong, played with good pad level, had a couple of nice rushes. I thought he performed pretty good.
Can I give you can I give you a thought on Taylor Wine?
Sure,
He's exactly what we needed H-back.
I agree.
And I don't mean like his body type, I mean like him.
Yeah,
And I know Brent Venables and Miguel Chavis will never let it happen. And I get that because I think he's going to be a really good edge guy for this program. But the physicality, the mentality, and just the size, he's huge.
yeah,
Just the size, he would be perfect for some of these modern college offenses at the H-back, tight end, whatever you want to label that position. That dude running zone insert, yeah, sign me up.
I agree. I mean, the position is fullback, but for whatever reason, they don't want to put a fullback there. People want to act like because the guy plays tight end, like that's going to affect defenses. Those players don't do anything from that spot that affects anything a defense does. That spot needs a meathead.
Out of all the guys on OU's roster, and I believe this, I think Taylor Wine would be the most effective player that we have to play tight end in the current system that we're running. I truly believe that.
Yeah,
Zone insert in split zone, throw him the ball in the flat every once in a while with some play action or RPO stuff. He'd be perfect. And every linebacker that turned on the tape would go, oh no. Look at this crazy white guy.
there's got to be there's got to be a little bit of fear's not the right word, like just knowing the collision is coming and dreading it. So what happens is when you have a meathead there and you have to go as fast as you can to go meet that collision. Well, guess what? Like that pop pass, you can have a missile going 100 miles an hour and you just avoid him and he goes on his face and you go run the pop pass. Like some of the play action stuff is way more effective whenever you know you have to go meet a very physical player there. But
Never going to happen, but a guy can dream, okay?
Yeah, I know it. Played some really good ball there. Backer, Stutzman, his vision continues to improve. Seeing the pullers, anticipating crossing routes, and he's to the point now when you get a play action or something, he is turning and sprinting to the area where he knows the route concepts and stuff are going to end up, which, it's one of the harder things to get linebackers to do because it's like, oh, it's run. Oh, no, it's not run. It's play action. Oh, it's play action. and then you're reacting to all of these things instead of instantly knowing what it is and turning and sprinting to that spot. Like you skip like 10 different decisions in the process and you end up playing a lot faster, even though you're not moving faster, you're just going to the right spot. And he's doing that really well, playing nice and square, had a couple of really nice physical tackles, directing traffic, exactly what you would expect. Another really solid game from him. Thought Kobe McKenzie played well. Um, had a couple of physical blitzes where he's coming up and contacting the running back and running through him. Flushed the quarterback a couple of times. Made a couple of nice coverage plays where he's in the right spot, relating to receivers tightly. Thought he did good. Kip Lewis was flying around out there as you would expect. The motor was active. Wasn't a huge production day for him, but he did some good stuff out there. And then whenever you saw like Kanik and Lewis Carter come in, I think they were off a couple on a couple of their run fits, but still had some production. Kanik had a nice play on a reverse where he was really running inside out, and then I think it's the final play of the game when the quarterback was scrambling around. He was flying from the opposite side of the formation and got the hit out of bounds and just showcased his, elite speed getting over there. Secondary, I mean, just wasn't a really active day. A couple of guys I thought, showed up a little bit. I didn't think our corners played that particularly good. But we were a little soft and hesitant in the run game compared to what we typically are. I mean, and here's the other thing. Because of the uniforms, I could almost never tell who the secondary players were because the camera's so far away and I just couldn't tell what the jersey numbers looked like. And a lot of those guys kind of from a distance appear to be the same person. But we had a couple of whiffs on tackles I mean, I almost wouldn't even call it a whiff, non-attempt at tackles. So I'm sure that'll be one of those film session things that guys are going to be frustrated with how that they responded in those moments. But I mean, all in all, there was some really good stuff in there, and then there were some problem areas. I mean, I would say that overall it was sharp, but this is one of those games where you got the win, but I have a feeling like the film review session is going to be brutal, where the coaches just key in on every half step or whatever the tiny little thing is that they're just going to screw down on that, and it's not going to be fun to watch.
That is, you could see it from the booth, and I could certainly see it from the sideline. That was as hot as Brent Venables has been all season long.
From the very yeah.
From the way that game started, he was not happy and was not happy the rest of the way and wasn't happy after the game when we interviewed him.
Or at the press conference, when he got to the press conference.
And that was, he was getting in everyone.
Yep.
So I think you're right about the film session situation. And that's just the last thought I have is Kip Lewis was visibly upset on the sideline. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I don't know what type of mistake that he made, but need that young man to shake it off and move forward because got three good football teams left to play. You got to be able to clear everything, reset, and roll.
Yep. No, I agree. But other than PJ, I think we made it out healthy. Boganowski came up and smashed a dude, full speed. And it looked like when I was able to watch it again on tape, it looked like the top of the running back's helmet hit right on top of his shoulder, which is recipe for a shoulder separation, but he got up and he was moving his arm around a little bit, but he continued to play. So I think he's okay, and I nothing else injury wise sticks out other than PJ. So I think we made it out healthy.
Anything else?
I
OU's
think that's
defense
it.
against Maine's offense?
I think that's it.
All right, let's talk about what we saw from the Sooners offense against the Black Bears defense. But first, hitting the highway, remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
All you tailgaters, listen up. We're now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch. Tradition plays better and tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Husbands, feeling a bit like the Grinch about holiday shopping? Let Simple Modern make your gift giving merry and bright. Surprise your wife with exclusive limited edition items from their holiday collection, or add a little sparkle with their new luxurious quilted Harper tote. Your kids will light up over their favorite licensed character gifts, and your office mates will love new tumblers and water bottles to kick off the new year in style. With Simple Modern, holiday shopping is done in just a few clicks. Plus, 10% of all profits go to charity. Many right here in Oklahoma, spreading cheer far beyond the holidays. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. All right, looking at what we saw from OU's offense versus Maine's defense. Let's start here. Another reminder, Maine is not a good football team. Fully aware of that. Got it. We know. But there are some things to be encouraged about. First off, 10 of 14 on third down, 2 of 2 on fourth down. I know it's Maine, but that's very good. That's what you're looking for. I was disappointed in the way that the offense started. You got to come out and set the tone in the football game. You got to get the crowd into the game. So yes, the first drive was disappointing. There's no doubt. But after that, there was some good stuff. You look at the run game. Joe John Finley kept it very simple. Inside zone, zone insert, split zone, some read runs off of those concepts, some RPO stuff off of those concepts, and then a handful of counter concepts that looked really, really good. So they didn't do anything elaborate. They built on what they did well in the Ole Miss game. I don't think that they revealed anything that they could possibly be saving for these last 3 games. It was very simple. I did like the pace that they played at. Now, they sprinkled some tempo in there and they went fast at moments, but Ted, I don't know about you, but it didn't feel frantic.
Yeah.
It felt more under control, felt a little crisper, a little more organized. And I was a fan of that. My biggest complaints, they are running this, you call it power pass, right? Where they pull the guard and he's got the end man on the line of scrimmage and it's play action and they're trying to take some shots down the field, some deeper developing routes. The guards for the Sooners are not exactly thriving when they're pulling and blocking those defensive ends.
Right.
And that was against Maine. So you have to seriously consider the rest of the way. Is that the best way? Is that the best play action to get to some of those deeper route concepts?
Right.
Just something you got to think about, because Wee Woo did not thrive in a couple of those situations, and neither did Heath Ozida. So just something to think about.
That's why I wish are they doing it out of shotgun?
We do everything out of shotgun. What do you mean? We
I
never
was
get
just,
under center.
well, I know I was making sure we're not in pistol at all. I wish that if a guard just sees a quarterback do this, that doesn't feel like run. Or did I say guard? A defensive end, that doesn't feel like run to where you need to squeeze the power block. You know what I'm saying? I wish we were at least in pistol to where we were turning a bit and showing the ball to where he feels like he's got to squeeze there. If not, you just fly up the field and it's impossible to block.
What if I told you the defensive end spilled it and got to the quarterback?
Still came under. Yeah. Well, that's tough.
Once again, not sure that is setting those two guys up for success. It's just something to think about.
Yeah.
Everyone that listens to this podcast knows how much I love outside zone. Knows that I am a perimeter run guy. We have run boot the last two games. And I love it. The quarterback is catching the ball. The back is in pistol, so directly behind the quarterback. The quarterback is then turning his back to the defense and faking a handoff. It clearly affects the defense. He then boots out, and there's a couple different route concepts back to the boot side. Very good stuff. Only one problem, Ted. They don't run the outside zone play that sets up the boot.
I know.
Why not?
No.
Just hear me out, guys. If you actually run that play, the boot will be significantly more effective. Just saying. But those are my two main complaints. And I don't even know if they're complaints. They're more observations. Hey, the power play action. I don't know if our guards are going to hold up against really good players in those scenarios. I know you want to take shots. Could you find some different action to get to those shots? We'll see. And then you're running boot. You got to run the play that the boot fakes. Come on, guys. It's really, I just want to see us run outside zone. I'm desperate to see it, please.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm with you on that. I don't know. I don't know.
But you're not getting that backside defender is not chasing because they don't run the play.
Right.
If you ran the play and you put it on tape, that defensive end would see Jackson Arnold turn his back and would say, hey, I'm going to go run this thing down from behind.
Yep. You have to affect him with the run play to where he is panicked to squeeze it.
And if he doesn't squeeze it, if he runs up the field thinking it's boot, then all of a sudden there's a huge cutback lane for outside zone, which is where some of the best outside zone concepts hit, is everything flows too far front side and the running back pipes it backside off behind everything because there's a bunch of front side wash. I'm just saying. We'll see. I'm not getting my hopes up. Maybe I am. I don't know. Let's get into the position by position stuff. Quarterback Jackson Arnold, another solid performance. I continue to be impressed with his athleticism. He's not going to turn your lights out, but he's an effective runner. And he is forcing defenses to factor his legs in to the decisions that they have to make. I thought 15-21 for 224, 2 touchdowns, also had the rushing touchdown. I think it's pretty clear to me that this play calling, this structure of offense that we've seen these last 2 weeks from Joe John Finley, this is the offense Jackson Arnold's most comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
It's more RPO driven, making quick decisions in the run game and in the pass game. The decision making still isn't perfect, but I do think it's gotten better the last 2 weeks, which is very encouraging. I would like to see, really, I think he needs to do the simple things well. Like the speed option on the second drive. Just pitch the ball. Everything about that play says pitch the ball to Javonte Barnes. He walks in the end zone. You have to do the simple things well. The RPO stuff. If you're reading a safety, He comes down in the run game, pull it and throw it. If he stays high, hand it off. Like those simple things. And his decision making, like I said, is still not perfect, but it's trending in a very good direction.
I agree.
It's clear he's seeing things better out there. I think he's gaining confidence. I think, and that's what makes me think, Ted, that he believes or is comfortable, however you want to phrase it, in what they're doing offensively under Joe John Finley.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it probably has a lot to do with, kind of how we talked about. You got to go find your quarterback and figure out what he likes the most and what he's comfortable in. And we're going to start highlighting those things. And yeah, I agree. And, there's just a couple of times the option one and, one of the other RPOs that really sticks out. Every now and then he's guessing before the snap, right? It's a predetermined decision. He's already decided that he's going to keep that ball on the option. It's not a read and react play for him. And, you have to trust that you have the ability to read it on the fly and make the right play on the fly and not hope that they do one thing and that's where you're going to play. That's what you're going to do no matter what. So I feel like there's still some of those moments.
No doubt about it. But I think the important part is he's getting better. He's improving with his decision making. And clearly, I mean, you look at the 90-yarder to J.J. Hester.
Great play.
It doesn't take much. You don't have to watch many snaps of Jackson Arnold and go, hey, that guy can rip it. I mean, when his decision making is crisp and he sees it and he's confident, the guy's got a lot of physical ability.
Yep.
It's obvious. It's just the goal for this offensive staff should be to continue to develop that confidence. And I think the confidence will come if he continues to make proper decisions with the football. I think that's the biggest hurdle for him. And there's a lot that goes into it. Understanding what you're trying to accomplish offensively, understanding what the defense is trying to do to you, recognizing coverage, like all these things. But I do think the improvement, you can see the improvement on the tape. One of the things that you pointed out on the broadcast, I actually didn't have a problem with after I went back and watched it. There were a handful of snaps where Jackson Arnold is trying to get out of the pocket when he doesn't need to.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Clean pocket.
Did that on the 90-yard play.
Agreed. J.J. Hester was also jogging on the curl route that he ran. But then he turned it upfield and made a tremendous play. Great job, J.J. But as I watched it, I honestly don't have a problem with it, and here's why. Yes, did I think, hey, there's a clean pocket, sit in there and let it rip, read it out. But I think he played with a realistic clock in his head. That pocket's not going to be there against anyone other than Maine for that long.
Hadn't been all year.
And so I actually don't mind him playing with a realistic clock in his head of no, like, hey, if it's not there now, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't create this false sense of security for him for these next three opponents.
Right. Yeah.
Would I love for him to just stand in there and look confident and with the clean pocket? Yeah. But let's be real, man. I don't think he's not going to have a bunch of those against Missouri, against Alabama, against LSU. He's just not.
Yeah.
With where we're at from an offensive line standpoint. So as I watched it on tape, I found myself going, hey, 11, I get it. And I don't mind it.
Yep. No, I agree with that. I see the point and it makes sense.
Wide receiver. J.J. Hester, 4 for 112. 90-yard touchdown. It's the longest touchdown catch by any Sooner ever on Owen Field.
Crazy, isn't it?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Cool. Nice job on the scramble drill on that play. To turn it upfield, and Nice job by Jackson Arnold delivering the football. Heck of a throw. Just a really cool fun fact that JJ Hester now has the longest touchdown reception by any OU player ever on that field.
And he showed. I mean that's why he's been a guy that we've really wanted to come along because he's listed at like 6'4" and almost 220 pounds, and you can see the great speed that he's got right there on that play. I mean, he'd be a great asset.
Part of me thinks he needs a break every once in a while. He's having to play a lot of snaps. And
Yeah.
listen, I'm fully aware of the wide receiver situation. Got it. Got it. But it's hard to be full throttle at wide receiver all the time if you can't get a blow here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
And
that's
same
true.
thing for Brennan Thompson. And I'm not really sure what happened to him.
I don't
He
know.
he was in some serious discomfort on the sideline. It looked like they were working in like the hip flexor area or like I don't know, sports hernia. I'm not sure what was going on there. But it was clear he was uncomfortable. But to that guy's credit, he went out there and kept playing.
You did. Yep.
Only had 2 for 25, had a big one broken up. Would I like to see him be able to catch that one through the contact shirt? Also, a really nice play from the defensive back, attacking his hands, knocking the ball loose. That would have been a nice chunk play, and maybe he gets out of it and goes and scores.
Mhm.
He did have a couple though where he just runs right by a guy. It's still on the first drive of the game, right by a guy, but there's pressure on Jackson Arnold. He can't get to him in the read, but it was that power play action I was talking about.
Mhm.
Ted, he goes screaming down the field, runs right by a guy, and unfortunately, Wee Woo couldn't hold up, and Arnold had to flee. Frustrating.
No, it is, and I don't know. We're still having a really hard time in just a. I mean, I know we hit the long play to Hester, but that's a scramble drill play. That's not a set up and throw the deep ball. So
I did see Zion Reagans run by someone.
hey,
Hawkins threw one of the longest lasers I've ever seen and overthrew him.
it just took off. I remember that throw. It was wild because he didn't put much air under it, and it just guess the wind got behind it, and it was fastball.
It was breathtaking on tape, but if Reagans can have a handful of those a game where he really opens up and run by guys like that can really help this football team. Finally saw it. I was excited. I don't know where Jaquez Petaway is. I don't know what's going on there. When's the last time we called his name on the radio broadcast?
Been a while. I don't know. Did he play at all?
I don't remember seeing him.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going on there, but Jacob Jordan continues to stack solid performances. Now only 3 catches for 36 yards, and the majority came on a nice deep over route. It was a nice throw from Jackson Arnold. He's hanging in there in the pocket. And I'm just, as I watch Jacob Jordan, I'm just really excited to see what he looks like next season. After another off season of strength and conditioning, this newfound confidence, because I do think he has to look at this situation now and go, you know what, man, I can play here. Not only can I play here, I can start here.
Yep.
So I'm just really interested to see what he looks like next season. But there's a lot to be encouraged about. Story of the game was Javante Barnes.
Yep.
And I wish I could come on here and say the offensive line just mauled him. That's not exactly what happened. The offensive line covered guys up. But that is as much, whatever word you want to use, wiggle, juice, whatever term you want to use, that's the most we've ever seen from Javante Barnes. Good time to remind people. Yes, we're aware it's Maine. Fully understand that. But that is as wide open is I've seen that young man play, and I have to assume like it's not an accident that he is putting together good performance after good performance after good performance. The confidence is growing, and I think that's what a confident Javante Barnes looks like.
I agree. I agree. It looks like he looks like what we expected him to be after the rookie or the freshman season that he put in. And then, he had the injury and had the setback, you know, and he's finally coming out of that. And I think that there's no reason for me to believe that he can't continue. Now we got to help him out. Guys got to play well around him to give him some of those opportunities. But he's done more over the last 2 weeks, just individually running through unblocked guys and making people miss than he has the entire season previous to these 2 games.
So you and I have spent the last couple years saying, when are these running backs going to make guys miss? And I think Saturday was a tremendous example of what we're talking about. The O line did not just create gaping holes for him. Guys were covered up, and Javante Barnes went and made things happen.
Yep.
It was Maine. Can he do it against Missouri? Can he do it against Alabama? Can he do it against LSU? We'll find out. But that's what we're talking about. Running backs winning their one-on-one battles with an unblocked safety, unblocked corner, whoever. And that's exactly what Javante Barnes did.
Yeah.
Against Maine. But it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And my hope is that the confidence continues to grow from him going out there and rushing for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's hard to imagine that it won't. Also had the nice catch. So he has been, I think it's fair to say, Ted, he has been our best player on offense.
Yeah, I agree. Consistent, high effort, physical. There's been frustrations on some of the stuff about, hey, you got to the second level, you got to make that guy miss and go turn it into something big. Those plays are starting to happen, but there's never been much of a question about the physicality and the effort at which he plays. And usually those 2 things, if you check the box on effort and physicality, the other things are going to come.
Yep. Taylor Tatum, you can see the suddenness, you can see the juice. I am encouraged. I think he's learning what to do out there on the field.
All right.
The mental errors are dropping significantly. Was a little worried when he fell weird, like on the logo. That was, yeah, it was kind of awkward, but it appeared he was all right the rest of the way. Saw some Samuel Franklin, fumbled the option pitch. Not great, but also thought he played really hard, did some good things. And then Xavier Robinson, are we sure he can't help this team? I mean, just throwing the ball to him out of the backfield, like how good did that look?
Yeah. He's a big guy that I think maybe it doesn't look like he is like super sharp in his cuts, but whatever it is that he's doing, it kind of catches defenders a little off guard and they end up being flat-footed and he just kind of runs right through them. There's a lot of weight behind him whenever he's running the football.
I just thought them just throwing that simple wide receiver or running back swing to him and just how naturally he looked catching the ball. I went, we sure 3rd down, we can't find teach him where he's supposed to be in pass protection and just throw some swings to him. We're sure he can't help this team. I'm excited about his future. I am. Tight end, Bauer Sharp. I've been hard on that guy about his blocking. He had some awesome blocks in this game.
He was knocking that backer around.
He was playing with velocity and violence. Now, he still needs to know when to swing to kill and when to just kind of capture a guy. But my goodness, when he got him on a couple of those zone inserts or the split zone, whew, He knocked the hell out of some people out there. And he
Good.
had a Javante Barnes 74-yard run. There's a lot of great things to love about that. And maybe that'll be the play that I do for in the weeds. They're running counter, and I mean Sharp comes as the second puller and just almost blocks the guy off the screen. Just really, really good stuff for him. Jake Roberts did a nice job in the run game, was assignment sound. Saw some Cade McIntyre and Caden Helms. Really happy for Caden Helms. Been a long road back to score that touchdown, the first of his career. And similar to what I said about Jacob Jordan, if I just want to see what Caden Helms look like. He looks like next season. He just needs to stay healthy, have a great offseason in the weight room, add more weight, add more strength, and just I want to see what he can be as he kind of just regains the belief in his body holding up, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, 100%. Yep. He looks good, looks athletic out there, and I like that little pop pass that they got him on, and great job finding the football.
Yep, got
Got picked.
deflected. Good focus. Congrats on the touchdown, Caden Helms. Cade
Which,
McIntyre,
by the way, let me say this on that. We talked about Kip and how, he was down on the sideline. You should have seen, even though he was having his own frustration out there, should have seen how happy he was for Caden Helms when he scored that touchdown. I mean, was just beside himself, happy and hugging him, followed him all over the sideline. And I find Caden's like, all right, man, I appreciate it. Thank you. But he was just like, it was awesome. It was cool to see.
yeah, there was a very, very cool reaction on the sideline when Helms scored the touchdown. Saw quite a bit of Cade McIntyre. It's clear he knows what he's doing out there. But if they're going to use him like Bauer Sharp, he's not going to get any taller. He's got to gain more weight.
Yeah.
He's got to have more behind him if that's how they're going to use him. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. Offensive line, Logan Howland. We talked about the big technique flaw that was a large issue against Ole Miss. It did not appear on the tape. It was gone. The take my left foot and drop it back behind myself and swivel my hips to the sideline was gone. And as a result of that being gone, he was much, much better in pass protection. Now, there are a few sets where, and you set, let me make something very clear. Whether you're at tackle, you're at guard, you're at center, your set is dictated by the passing concept, the depth of the routes, and by the alignment of your defender. And there are some where, they're trying to throw deeper routes, and Logan Howland's a little flat with his set. He's got to learn to get a little more depth, play more on the angle. But I was very encouraged that the alarming technique flaw was eliminated. But he has to understand, okay, what's the passing concept and how do I have to set accordingly to where the defender is aligned? And that will come with more experience. But he didn't open the gate and create a short corner. So I was proud of that. I was proud of him for correcting that large flaw. He was a little more active with his hands in pass protection. I would still like to see him use his hands independently. He's a two-hand puncher guy or two-hand grabber. You need some left right. You need some right left. You need some flash your left and then strike with your right. You have to be able to throw different punches as an offensive lineman. That's something. Now that the feet have been fixed a little bit, let's start sharpening things up with the hands. But he showed improvement. I know it's Maine. Let me make that clear. I know it's Maine. Now, Hito Zada, he looks more comfortable out there as well. Definitely seems like he has a clearer understanding of the concepts and what he's supposed to be doing on each play. He's so big and he moves well. I just need to see like the intensity and the violence just ramp up, man. And maybe that'll come as his confidence continues to grow. But there's some glimpses where he's moving people, and I'm like, yes, that's it. Yes. It just needs to happen way more often for 77. Troy Everett, solid job. He's got to get his pads down. Playing too high. And he's not a tall guy, like playing too high. You got to get your pads down at the center position. And, one thing that stands out to me about Troy is in pass protection, depending on which way he's setting, his weight is getting too far outside to the side he's setting. And he's almost getting up on that foot. That's not how it needs to be. I always thought of it as like 60-40. You want to keep the majority of the weight on your inside leg. Now, in practice, I would always
counter.
Yeah, I would always emphasize it more. Like you want to emphasize it in practice, and then so you're like 70-30 in practice when you're going against the scout team, and then you'll be more 60-40 in a game. But he needs to make that a big point of emphasis because the way that his weight is shifting in some of his pass set stuff, it's not setting him up for success against really good players. They tried to catch him sleeping with we're looking at the sideline, guys. Oh, we snapped the ball. Troy Everett airmailed that thing. He had his butt way up in the air. Dude, you got to drop your butt and snap that play. And I'm sure they practiced it multiple times, but that ball went sailing, and I was watching it on tape going, oh, no, not good. But, yeah, so that's what he wants back. And then the only other comment I have on Troy Everett is I've never seen the referees make an offensive lineman leave the field for their leg bleeding. This is football. What are we doing? I've never seen that in my life. That was so strange.
I've seen it before, but it's been a really long time, and I feel like it was like high school.
This is D1 football. This is big boy football. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Let the man bleed in peace.
Hmm.
Ridiculous. Fabechi Wee-Woo. Another nice game for him in pass protection. Other than that power play action I talked about. I just want to see more from him in the run game. He's on guys. He's working to the right guys. But when you look at his physical gifts, he's just not moving guys the way that he should. And I think it has a lot to do with his footwork out of his stance. It's just very in place. He doesn't gain any ground. And if you're going to step in place in the run game, it's very hard to move guys that way. Now, you don't want to be a straight momentum blocker where you're just flying off the football without much technique, and it's just, I'm going to go hit this guy as hard as I can. That's not what I'm saying he needs to do, but I want to see more from him. More. I need more. Spencer Brown at right tackle. He didn't have any critical errors. How about that? So that's good. He's a guy that just covers guys up. Whether it's pass pro, it's run game. Best way to put it is let's hope Michael Tarquin's ankle is ready to go by next week. Let's hope. Yeah. Because Missouri's got some experienced, strong dudes on the edge. And I'm not sure Spencer Brown will hold up well. So we'll see. We'll see how that ankle is for Tarquin. But a couple young guys got in the game, actually quite a few. I want to hit a couple of them. Eddie Pierre-Louis. Love the vibes.
Yeah.
That's the energy. That's the effort. That's the violence I'm looking for. Now, needs to get his pads down. Playing way too high. If he learns to play with lower pads, he's going to be really good. Got to learn to bend more at the ankles and the knees. He's playing too upright. Just trying to rely on strength and effort, and those things are great. But this is you got to play with technique at this level. damn it, did I love the violence he displayed.
Yeah,
That personal foul may be my favorite play of the season. And the best part is, like, they're running counter. He goes, he pulls, he executes his assignment. He runs his ass as hard as he can to the ball, hurdles over a guy that's laying on the ground, and goes and assaults that defensive back for Maine. It was awesome. I watched it 10 times. And that is, do you want guys to get 15-yard penalties? No, you don't. But every now and then,
line and then come right just below it.
every now and then, that's a good penalty for an offensive lineman to get.
And the crowd reacted to it. Like online, people are like, yes, more of that attitude, more of that type of play, please.
It's very difficult to play with that type of energy for an entire football game at offensive line. I would say nearly impossible. But I think I had him down. I had him down for 36 snaps. I think he had more knockdowns in those 36 snaps than any OU lineman has had in a full game all season long. He's doing something right.
What do you think about his size?
He's got to he's got to add more mass. He's very, very, you can see he's very lean.
Yeah.
If you're going to be that lean, you have to be a technician and a dog. He's one of those two right now. He's a dog. He's not a technician.
Because I was wondering about him because he's like, he doesn't have, like, when you
He looks
think
like
about,
a center.
that's what I was getting to.
He looks like a center. You put that guy as the center, and I'm not trying to replace Troy Everett or anything like that, but let me just tell you, it's clear to me there's one guy that's kind of like a tone setter guy. Just by watching the tape, I've seen a handful of snaps from this guy. He's comboing guys to the ground with Troy Everett and turning to him and like wanting to do like some Bash Brothers celebrations. And I'm just I was sitting watching it going, oh, hell yeah. I love this kid. But if I do think he'd be a successful center. Now, there's a lot that comes with playing that position. Not to make it sound more important than it is. There's a whole nother aspect to playing center when it comes to the mental component of things, especially for Bill Bedenbaugh. I don't know. Is EPL ready for that piece of things? I don't know. I'm not in the building every day. I'm not sure. But I know this. That guy just set a new standard in that room of what it looks like. I guarantee Brent Venables is going to pull 3 or 4 of the clips he put on tape in that game and go, why aren't we seeing more of this from the rest of you guys? Because that was my reaction as I was watching it. He's burying dudes, finishing guys.
I'll also say this. You know, there are teams that have a lineman run the H-back spot whenever they're.
I told you that like 8 weeks ago. Put him at fullback.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to be very encouraged about. The dude has it's very hard to coach that type of attitude into a guy. And he's got it. Mm-hmm. Now the technique needs to come. And I believe it will. Is he a guy that you can play against Missouri, Alabama, and LSU? I don't see why not. Why he shouldn't get a couple series. Is he a guy you want to play against, play the whole game against those teams? No, I don't think he's there yet. But I liked a lot of what I saw. Get your pads down, bend at your ankles and knees, hand placement. Like there's a lot to work on from a technical perspective from him. But damn it, the energy and the effort, the violence, hell yeah, brother, injected into my veins. Let's go.
I like it.
Isaiah Autry did some nice things. Very similar critiques to EPL though. Like, got to bend more, got to get your pads down. He does. He's got some nice, quick, like effortless feet. Which, if that's your starting point at offensive tackle for a guy his size, you're encouraged. But I think he's still got a ways to go. He's going to be. I don't think project is the word. Like, but there's going to have to be some serious growth from him in the offseason. But remember, this is a guy that just got pulled off scout team and thrown onto the field.
Right. Yeah.
So you consider that, and hey, pretty good job by Isaiah Autry Dent. So it's going to be, I think for him, it's more off-season strength and conditioning type stuff for him.
Yeah.
Flexibility, bend, overall strength, explosiveness. Like, I think his biggest growth needs to happen in that area. And if it takes place, then I think he's going to be just fine moving forward. But he's not a guy where I watched it and went, oh my gosh, just look at this guy's incredible natural ability. He's going to have to work. But it sounds like he doesn't mind doing that. So that's really encouraging. So yeah, there were some young guys that were out there that were playing. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I'm glad that you mentioned this. I can't remember when it was. It may have been all the way back in the huddle show. But the fact that, some of these guys get to have a little payoff for all of the work that they've done through spring and summer workouts and training camp and being a scout team dummy, getting beat on. It's nice to get out there on the field and have a little bit of payoff for all that work.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to call your shot. Ask you guys your number one takeaway from OU's win over Maine, and we really just got one answer that we need to address. This comes from Rick Cummings. He says, Teddy could absolutely whip a black bear in a fight. You thought long and hard about it. A couple commercial breaks, in fact, to contemplate your plan to defend your life if a black bear were to attack you, Ted. And you seemed confident that you could win the battle.
Well, yeah, I did, but I mean, in all honesty, I hope to never be in that position. The main thing is I'm from the jump, I'm at a tremendous disadvantage because I'm weaponless. The black bear is not weaponless. The teeth, the dagger-like claws, it's a huge advantage. So my really, truly only chance is I would have to find some type of equalizer. Preferably find something that swings the tables into my favor, but hand-to-hand combat, massive disadvantage.
The good thing about you tend to have the equalizer near.
There's always an equalizer within arm's reach.
But for anyone thinking, hey, maybe I can do to Teddy what that guy tried to do to Jason Kelsey, would not recommend.
Oh man,
Would not
that's
recommend.
funny.
Not a good idea.
Jason Kelsey though, that's a psychopath. Uh,
Can you believe that guy did that?
here's like my reaction to that is they're lucky he's become as famous as he is.
Yes.
You know what I'm
2
saying?
years ago, he's headbutting that guy and knocking him unconscious.
Yes.
But I think Jason Kelsey should not have to buy that guy a new cell phone.
No.
We all need, as a society, we all need to agree that that guy was in the wrong, not Jason Kelsey. And that Jason Kelsey handled that as well as you possibly could, being in his situation.
I we all know what the perhaps what the law says, but in no civilized society is it appropriate to invade a person's uh, personal space, put a camera directly in their face, and scream stuff at them whenever they're not trying to engage you at all. If you do that, you put your cell phone at risk. I mean, there's no way anyone should ever allow any litigation, anything at all to take place. Stupid crap like that locks up our system is a huge frustration of mine.
I hope that goes to trial, and I hope a jury says not guilty.
Well, I hope it does never even go. I hope uh
I hope
it
that kid's parents, who probably pay for that cell phone, go, you know what? Go mow some lawns, buy yourself a new cell phone, buddy.
yeah.
What a tool. What an
I,
absolute tool.
I don't think it takes much. Like I feel like any judge should say, all right, let me get the facts here. This guy's walking somewhere. He's paying no attention to you. You come up, you have your cell phone in his face. You're screaming obscenities at him. He grabbed the cell phone and smashed it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Don't put your phone in people's face and yell obscenities at them. I mean, that's case over. Case dismissed. Done. On to the next. Waste no more time with it.
I just know that there may be one or two people on the cell phone guy's side. And I just want to say this to those people. Why are you the way you are? What are you doing? We had some good ones, Ted. Week 10. Did they deliver? Kinda. Let's break it down. But first,
Schwab Meat loves football. They make delicious smoked meats, hot dogs, and sausages for us to enjoy before, during, and after games. You should go load up on schwabmeat.com and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab also loves football players in Oklahoma. They partner with Danny Stutzman and Nick Martin. Those two linebackers got the dog in them. Schwab should know dogs are what they do. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
and three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open at 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Week 10 of college football. Let's recap them, and let's start in Happy Valley. Ohio State wins their 8th straight over Penn State. The Buckeyes get it done 20-13. And Ted, before we recap this one, and there's a lot to recap, would it have changed your opinion on this game if you would have known that Will Howard was from Pennsylvania and did not receive an offer from Penn State?
I don't think it would have changed my mind, but it would. It is interesting information that I would have liked to have had.
I was unaware of it until after the game, because as he was picking up those first downs on that final drive, I was going, man, Will Howard is awfully fired up.
Yeah.
And now I know why. But there may be no better feeling in football than the way Ohio State finished this game. Goal line stand on defense, then an 11-play drive, all runs to end it, taking a knee. That's like football crack, dude.
Yeah.
Just an incredible way to finish a game of this magnitude. by Ohio State.
Well, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the play-by-play rundown, and it was 17-13. Ohio State goes on a 12 play, 64-yard drive and kicks a field goal. It took 5 minutes. And then to take a 20-13 lead. Then Penn State has the 9 play drive that ends on downs at the goal line. That took 5 minutes. And then they never got the ball again. 11 plays, 5 minutes and 13. The entire fourth quarter was 10 minutes Ohio State to 5 minutes for Penn State. That's how you close out a football game, especially on the road.
There were some, there were some huge key plays in this game. The interception where Igbinosun takes it from Trey Wallace, that was clearly a massive play. And that one didn't go Penn State's way. But Will Howard threw a pick six. I think it was his first pass of the game. Threw a pick six. He also fumbled the ball through the end zone for a touchback. And Ohio State still won the football game.
Still won the game. Yeah.
It made me, as all of this unfolded, I go, hey, is Penn State ever going to beat them again, ever? What else could you ask for if you're Penn State and you still can't get it done?
Crazy. I don't know. This is like the equivalent of having like a Dak Prescott quarterback in the NFL. It's like you can move on, but there's no guarantee that you move on to someone better right away. It may take you 3 or 4 tries to find someone better. It's a tough spot to be in. But I mean, it's like the most Big Ten football game of all time. It's crazy. Penn State had 3 possessions in the second half. They only had 8 possessions. You typically have average 12 possessions in a football game. And all of a sudden, going in, you find out that you're only going to have 8 possessions. Things change dramatically. It's wild.
I really thought the difference in the game was Chip Kelly and Ryan Day scheming up a couple explosives for Ohio State that Andy Kotelnicki just couldn't scheme up for Penn State. I mean, you think about the touchdown to Ibuka in the first quarter. It's just an awesome design. The touchdown to Brandon Ennis in the second quarter, not that dissimilar of a design. And they got a couple easy ones, and it seemed like everything Penn State, like they didn't get anything easy. They had to earn it all against a really good defense. Now, Tyler Warren is just a damn good football player. Anybody, every single team in the country wants that guy. But other than that, just it seemed like nothing came easy for Penn State's offense.
Yeah. And it's kind of felt like that.
They don't. That's why I picked Ohio State to win this game. Just Penn State, they don't really have playmakers at wide receiver. They just don't have those guys right now. And I don't know why they don't have them, but they don't have them.
And, Drew Aller seems like I think he's a solid quarterback. But you got to remember Kotelnicki and his offense, like the type of quarterback he had success with, right? I mean, Jalen Daniels and Jason Bean. Jason Bean is a speed demon, fast quarterback run game. Same thing with Jalen Daniels, getting those guys involved. I just don't know that without that extra dynamic, it doesn't seem like his offense is the same. Does that make sense?
You know who would be perfect for his offense? Marcel Reed at A&M.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yep.
The only other thing I have on this game, refs in a big game, just do less. That unsportsmanlike conduct on Elliott Washington from Penn State, where he makes a tackle on Carnell Tate. He kind of steps over him. It would have been 4th and 4. Would have been 4th and 4. Drives over. Instead, drive continues because they think that is personal foul worthy. And eventually Ohio State goes down the field and scores. If I was a Penn State fan, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd be as upset with James Franklin as that guy that was yelling at him in the stands. What's your name, sir? He does some goofy stuff. But I hated that call. Hated that call. Don't have that big of an impact in the game, man. It wasn't egregious at all. What a ridiculous flag.
Yeah.
That happened to OU. I always put myself in the situation of how would I react if this happened to OU? And I would lose my mind if that happened to OU.
Yeah. Those plays are frustrating because you instantly you're mad at the player. And I can understand being mad at the player, but still there's like you have to know when if a game is spilling out of control, then the officials, okay, you expect them to tighten up some things, right? To try and get a clamp on things, but in no way was that game spinning out of control.
As he announced it, he was like stepping over a player. In my head, I was like, you mean he was getting up off the ground?
Should have stepped on the player.
Should have just stepped on his chest. Got it. Just so stupid. But nice win for Ohio State. Go on the road, beat a good football team, in good shape there in the Big Ten. They got Indiana on the schedule. So all of a sudden, in a couple weeks, that is a massive football game.
We'll get to it.
Oh, I'm smelling a possible winner of the weekend for Ted. Texas A&M went to Columbia, South Carolina, and got rolled in the second half.
Yes, they did.
Final score 44-20. Not shocked that South Carolina won the game, but I am surprised how they did it. 286 yards rushing. 6.7 yards per carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. South Carolina pushed that A&M defense around.
I mean, outside of, turning the football over there in what was the second quarter, whenever A&M bounced back on them, like they went right down the field to start the game. They forced a punt in like what they turned them over on downs to start off, and then they went back down and punched it in again. It's 14-0 before he even knew what hit you. I mean, it was closer than it really should have been for longer until that second half, right?
There was an incredible start to that game. I mean, the Sellers touchdown run, you mentioned it, they stuffed Reed on the quarterback sneak. Did not like that call. And it was, if you look at it from A&M's side of things, just a nightmare of a start.
Yeah.
Sellers rips off a couple big plays. They go right down the field, score a touchdown. You get stuffed on QB sneak. It's 14-0 in the blink of an eye. Oh, and then you actually do have a big play, and your star player hurts. Le'Veon Moss is hurt on the second drive of the game. Done for the day. And we'll see what his status is for the rest of the season. Didn't look great. And still, all that happens, and credit to them. I mean, right before the half, they're up 20-17. South Carolina drives, gets a field goal, and it's 20-20 at half. But A&M could not get anything going in the second half. Just some key fourth down plays, and they got stuffed. Huge play with like 7.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. They go for it on 4th and 1. Ted, I was screaming. 12 personnel, they motion in and run the split zone read play. A&M's in a 4-4 structure. I'm watching it and going, make sure you leave the outside guy. Who is the safety in the 4-4 structure? You got like a four backer look. The guy that is way out front side is the safety. Don't go to him. Go to the inside backer that you know is going to pull the trigger, that's in the situation all the time. And what do, Ted? They leave that guy unblocked.
Hmm.
No one touches him. Debo, 0. Good player for South Carolina. No one touches him. He flies in, chops the running back in half. No gain, turnover on downs. Details, man.
Yeah.
Details in huge moments.
I mean, that was a huge win, and that crowd got into it. That was a cool atmosphere. I mean, because it felt like, okay, South Carolina, hey, what a start. They're going to win the game. And then as A&M came racing back on them, you go into halftime thinking A&M may if they come out the second half the way they did the week before, they may run away with this thing. No, not so fast. South Carolina is I mean, they're a good all-around football team. Both sides of the ball, physical in the line of scrimmage. They got enough playmakers on offense. They're fun to watch.
If you wanted to tell me, I don't think I would think you're crazy if you say, hey, they win the rest of their games, they go 9-3, and they somehow like get in the playoff. I wouldn't be it. A lot has to happen for them to sneak in, but I wouldn't be shocked. Team's
Well,
playing some pretty good ball.
what's crazy is, you know, they had LSU just beat.
If
They had
Lenore Sellers doesn't get hurt in that game, they beat LSU.
and if they like there were some bad calls against them in that game. All right. So just some weird stuff that went down. Crazy. 36-33 loss at home to LSU. And then, I mean, Bama, lucky to have beat them. Lucky to have beat South Carolina. That was week before we played them. Yeah, they, at their peak, they can beat anyone in this conference without a doubt.
I think at their peak, they can play with anyone in the country
Yeah.
because they got dudes in the right spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, how about Rocket Sanders looked?
Look good.
He looked like one of the best running backs in the country in this game.
Yep. 20 for 144, 2 touchdowns.
Looked fast. Already know the physicality he runs with, but I mean, McElroy was pointed out. He's like, we haven't seen him look like this since he was at Arkansas.
Yeah. I mean, on the year now, he's got to be. Yeah, I mean, he's piling it up. I guess he's not as much as I thought. I mean, that's his first 100-yard game since the LSU game. He's only has 2 of them. That one and the LSU game. But he's right around 5 yards a carry number.
I think both programs and both fan bases come out of this game going feel pretty good about the quarterback situation moving forward. Marcel Reed, yeah, he had the interception in the fourth, not good. But I thought he did a nice job of like navigating the pressure that Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard were putting on him, avoiding things, making some plays. Clearly can do some serious damage with his legs. And then Lenore Sellers, he may be one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. I mean, Shane Beamer said it after the game. He wouldn't trade him for anyone, and I believe Shane when he says that.
Yeah.
I think that young man's future's very bright for South Carolina. So still a lot to play for A&M, but there's no margin of error now for the Aggies.
Yeah, that's right. And in the SEC standings are interesting, man. I mean, it's still at this point we are what 8 games into the season, and it's hard to know who we're going to see in the SEC championship game. I mean, Georgia, A&M, Tennessee, Texas, LSU, all still sitting there with one loss in conference. Still completely wide open. Vanderbilt's still sitting there with just two losses. I mean, it's thing is wide open right now.
Bring on the chaos. Let's go. Love it. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this next game. Ole Miss went to Fayetteville and dismantled Arkansas.
Yep.
63-31, and it wasn't that close.
Mm-mm.
And there's a formula to going and winning on the road in conference play. Right? Take care of the football, win the turnover battle. Right? Run the football. Control time of possession, or you just could have an absurd number of explosive plays in the passing game. I mean, big play after big play after big play in the throw game for Ole Miss. It was impressive. And Jackson Dart, when the big throws were there to be made, he made them all.
Yeah.
What, 515 and 6 touchdowns?
It's crazy. You know, you in the first quarter, Ole Miss is up 7-3. I mean, you got a tight ball game there.
Scored on defense.
Yeah.
Strip
return.
Taylor Green in the end zone. Defensive touchdown. I know you love those.
Oh yeah. And then you the second half or the second quarter, you start ripping off those 2-play 68-yard drives for touchdowns. I mean, that goes a long way. 1 play, 62 yards, touchdown. And once you get up by that much and like the whole way the game is played totally changes, and Arkansas has to become a passing team in the second half, and it's not really where they want to be.
And I know if you're an Arkansas fan, you could go, hey, no Jaquindon Jackson. Taylor Green got banged up again, right? Got rolled up in the first quarter, came back in, had to leave the game again. They had to roll with the backup Singleton. He's just he's not gonna be the guy that orchestrates a massive comeback. He's just not that guy. But Taylor Green and no Jaquindon Jackson, that hadn't have anything to do with Jordan Watkins going 8 for 254 and 5 touchdowns.
Crazy.
What a performance from Watkins. Just running by dudes.
Crazy numbers.
31.8 yards per catch. That'll do. Also, Caden Lee, couple of massive plays. DeQuan Wright, feed the tight end. He's always open. That's a big athletic dude. 9 for 99. Couple touchdowns for him. I mean, it was explosive after explosive after explosive in the throw game for Ole Miss. In Arkansas, whose entire defense is designed to prevent explosive plays in the passing game. They were helpless, man.
Crazy.
They got carved up. That was a absolute beatdown in Fayetteville.
Yep. That was wild. I didn't see that one coming.
No one did. Anyone that said Ole Miss was going to go do that to Arkansas, there's no way.
Yeah.
But that's college football.
That's college football. Everything is you're dead positive on what's going to happen until it doesn't, and that seems like exactly what you get week in, week out. I mean, that was just. I mean, I obviously could see Ole Miss winning that football game, but in the fashion that they did, no. Didn't think that's what was going to unfold. Impressive.
One last thing on this game. There was a play. 1 minute to go in the third quarter. Just a play I know you would love. Ole Miss is up 56-24, and this play made its rounds on Twitter. Jackson Dart drops back. It's 1st and 10. Landon Jackson, who is a very good edge player for Arkansas, going to be an early round pick. Push pull, inside move, goes and sacks Jackson Dart. And what does he do, Ted? Remember, scores 56-24.
Did he step over a player?
He does nothing. No celebration. He walks straight back to the line of scrimmage, doesn't say a word to anyone, goes and gets lined up and gets ready to play the next snap.
Oh.
Because he's down by 32 points and he has a brain. You see guys all across the country, they're down by 30. You saw it in this game. Singleton, the backup quarterback for Arkansas, runs and scores this touchdown. They're down by like 5 touchdowns. And he goes and looks at the crowd and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm just like, you gotta have some awareness, guys. You gotta have an understanding. And I'm not saying don't have fun, but you gotta have a level of awareness when you're just getting your ass whooped. Shout out to Landon Jackson, who is an awesome football player. Nice move, great sack, zero emotion, no celebration whatsoever. Just goes back to the line of scrimmage. Goes on about his day.
It's such a weird. It almost feels like the WWE or something. It's like anytime you make a tackle or a first down run or whatever, it's like we're such a small video clip world now that play, the play is part of it, and then the second part of it is you get up and you do the first down point. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything has to have like some type of finishing move on it. It's the weirdest thing ever. But
it honestly makes me upset that you didn't have a celebration when you were playing. Like a signature celebration. Like a block L for Lehman. You know, something cool.
My signature celebration was to be disappointed about myself with something on that play and just walk back to the line of scrimmage and get the signal for the next play.
Good job, Lada Jackson. Just understanding the moment. Well done. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I have to go with the best football program in the Big Ten at the time, the Indiana Hoosiers.
What? I thought you were going to say Oregon. Come on, Oregon's the best team in the Big Ten. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, maybe. Indiana's pretty solid. They are 9-0. It's crazy. It's the third time ever in the history of their program that Indiana has had 9 wins. They've got 9 wins, all of them straight, double-digit wins. And they're doing some incredible things both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. And they got their 9th win on an absolute ass-kicking of Michigan State. I mean, they go down 10-0, and then from that point on, it ain't even close between the two football teams. Really impressive. And their defense is, I mean, they get it from both sides, but their defense has been incredible this year, and this game was no different. They're currently the 5th in the country total defense, and against Michigan State, they had 2 interceptions, a safety, 15 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, held Michigan State to minus 24 yards rushing. And
Goodness.
I maybe this is controversial, maybe not. I think Indiana finishes the regular season undefeated. And they're about to play Michigan, at Ohio State, and then Purdue.
That is bold, sir.
I know it.
It's not that bold saying Indiana's going to beat Michigan, but saying they're going to beat Ohio State in Columbus, that's quite the statement. But
Bold.
you can only play who's on your schedule.
That's right.
So people can complain about Indiana's schedule as much as they want. Who's their best win? Who's their best win? Listen, all they can do is play who's on the schedule. But man, they've been whooping people.
Yes, they
And
have.
hey, Curtis Rourke was back. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. What thumb surgery only takes 2 weeks? Whatever one he had, he was back spinning it. Looked good.
Yeah, he was back. Looked good. Well, he threw for 4 touchdowns, I believe, in the game. Smooth, efficient. You know, have a really good passing game. It's a fun team to watch. You know, it's awesome whenever you get the teams, the programs that really haven't been a player ever. I mean, outside of the year they had, was that the COVID year when they had Penix there? I mean, beat Penn State, had a couple of nice games. But outside of that, I don't remember Indiana ever really factoring into anything. I mean, Kevin Wilson, I think they had a couple of nice seasons, but were never really a factor. And this is something totally different. I mean, the way that they're dominating people, it's really impressive.
It is, unless something just drastic happens. I mean, it's going to win Kirk Cignetti Coach of the Year.
Oh, I mean, it's
That, I mean that may already be over.
yeah. Considering the history of that program and what he's done as quickly as he's done, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are if you're at a big program and you're making a change at the head coaching spot, I mean, the first call everyone is going to make is going to be to Cignetti at Indiana, right?
If you're Florida,
Once they Google him,
Google me. I win. Still one of the best quotes ever. Incredible. Indiana's leadership, there is nothing more important to that university right now than keeping Kirk Cignetti. The basketball program has not been good for a long time. Football is what butters the bread, baby. Even at Indiana, you look at the TV deal, and especially, and I don't want to get too deep into this, there may be more of a separation in college football coming. And where does Indiana want to be if that separation comes? If that discussion, if all of a sudden Ohio State and Michigan look around at the rest of the teams in the Big Ten and go, hey, why are you getting as much money as us? If Indiana's winning a ton of games and racking up Big Ten wins and they've got Kurt Cignetti, then they can go to the table and go, what do you mean?
because we beat y'all's asses in back-to-back weeks, one of them at home, one of them in Columbus.
And you're right, though. Everyone's going to want this guy. The number one thing Indiana needs to do as a university, not just as an athletic program, is to make sure they do whatever they have to do to keep Kirk Cignetti. Because think about how many more kids are going to go to Indiana because they're good at football now. That dude is a cash cow for them.
It's crazy. And you are going to have to thought like just imagine they play. Is it Michigan? They play. Is it this week they play them? This coming week?
Yeah.
they're going to play them there in Indiana, and we everyone knows Michigan is down this year. If you go out there and you beat Michigan by 4 touchdowns, how, how is Michigan not going to come and throw just a boatload of money at him? I mean, because they're a trend. Sherrone Moore, you got to. He was a transitional hire for them, right? It was hopeful that he would carry on what Harbaugh did there, and maybe it's not fair, but to have that type of year after the national championship, people are already going to be getting antsy. You know it.
Florida. Florida may have avoided disaster by Georgia coming back and winning that game.
No kidding. What do we do now?
I know that if they would have pulled that off with their third string quarterback in, I don't know. Like, what do you say if you're a Florida fan? But he is going to be in high demand.
Mhm.
He's making $3.5 million this year.
He'll
Double
be
his
making,
salary immediately. Triple it if you have to,
they're
Indiana.
going to have to triple it.
I think in his final year, he's scheduled to make $4 million. Give him $10 million and sleep well at night, Indiana. It'll be the best money you've ever paid.
Yep.
Because it's clear the guy can coach. Google him. He wins.
What I like about him is he's old school and simple, and it's all really straightforward. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I I don't know. I don't have a great way to put it into words, but whenever you hear him talk and watch his interviews, he's almost like it's almost like Belichick with a much better personality. You
It's a
know,
great way of putting it.
it's like there. It's like a funny, personable Bill Belichick.
I I assume there could be a couple people going, wait, this is just one season. Can you really go all in on this guy? When you look at his career, he's right. All he has done is wherever he's been, he's won. So are
I,
you willing now that you're collecting this massive check if you're Indiana from the Big Ten, the new Big Ten TV deal? Spend that money on that coach.
yep.
Go all in on him and see what he can do as far as attracting players to that program because Indiana right now is one of the talks of college football. You have to capitalize on this momentum if you're them. And capitalizing on that momentum takes capital. It just does.
Yep.
So I'm very interested to see what that looks like. They should they should announce the extension this week. And the raise, whatever they're going to do, just announce it this week.
Before the phones even start ringing, you need to walk up to him and hand him enough money to where he doesn't even think about it.
I I think that's exactly what you do.
Because we're getting to that point where the phone is about to start ringing. It's that time of year where the like once the first person that makes the move and acts as their head coach, it's going to be dominoes falling out there because everyone wants to get in on who the top candidates are out there.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
The Big 12. Woo! The big dogs went down in the Big 12. Iowa State loses to Tech 23-22 in that one was in Ames, right?
Yeah.
Kansas State goes down to 4-5 Houston 24-19, and the woes continue for Oklahoma State. Arizona got the Scataboo treatment 42-21. Wild weekend in the Big 12. Some great games though. The Tech Iowa State game was excellent.
They I mean, when you draw it up for Iowa State, they have the they have the big explosive, 44-yard pass, I think, from Beck to Brown. They take the lead. They don't get the 2-point conversion. But you're Iowa State. The program's been built on that John Haycock defense.
Yep.
That's been the most reliable thing. And you got to get a stop. You get a stop, you stay undefeated, your playoff hopes stay alive, your Big 12 title hopes stay alive. And Tech goes down the field 12 plays in what, less than 2 minutes and punches it in?
Yeah, they had a big 4th and 7 at their own 43 that they converted on. Got an 8-yard pass converted, and that was with about minute 15 left. And at that point, they hit the gas and were just boop, 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 boop. But fourth down conversion, man, that was really the end of it.
Heartbreak for the Cyclones.
And then, did you watch the end of the game? Like
The
the
end of that
very
game?
like the final possession from Iowa State?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what they were doing with some of their clock stuff. It was strange. Like they tried the last play of the game where you run like the crosser, catch it, and toss it back to someone. There was plenty of time. They needed to get in decent range to kick a field goal. I mean, they had plenty of time and timeouts to do it, but I don't know. It seems strange how they were trying to operate.
They went pitchy, pitchy, woo woo too soon.
Way too soon. Thank God they didn't get it, but I don't even know why they were trying it. They wasted a ton of time even trying it. If he would have caught the pitch, the game would have been over. They would have scored on it. I don't know what they were trying to do. They should have just been working the sideline or the deep middle of the field. They still had a timeout to get the field goal range. It was weird. I don't know.
I'm shocked. A college football team didn't manage the clock very well.
It's so weird, man.
This is my shocked face. I the Kansas State one, they just fell apart in the fourth quarter. Avery Johnson, man, a couple of, especially the first interception in the fourth quarter, just an awful throw. RPO game, Ted.
Yeah.
You have to be on time. He pulls it, he squeezes it, he throws it late. Picked off, sets Houston up for an easy touchdown. Zion Chris rips off a really nice touchdown run. K-State defense giving up explosives again. And then, but still, all of that happens. You got a chance to go win the game. You've got the ball. 2-minute drill. Got to go score a touchdown and win the game. Another interception.
Crazy.
That game felt over at 19-10. And all of a sudden it was, oh my gosh, Houston's going to win this game.
Yeah.
There was no one there to watch it.
It's interesting because we've had to go through the whole watching Dylan Gabriel at Oregon thing. And, there's, for whatever reason, well, I know the reason, but there's people that have got hung up on that about why didn't they keep Dylan Gabriel and everything. And forget, I'm not really even talking about any of the reasons, but K-State fans have to be wondering the same thing, don't they? Watching Will Howard, Ohio State.
Will Howard's a better player than Avery Johnson. He just is. I mean, is that even debatable at this point in time? Their record would be better if Will Howard was their quarterback.
Avery he's patches of good followed by long periods of mistake-ridden football. He makes a ton of mistakes. He'll make a bunch of really nice plays, but the mistakes are critical. And it feels like I'm looking at his stats. He's got 7 interceptions. It feels like way more than that because they come in bunches in critical games.
And at critical times in those games.
Yeah.
Like the fourth quarter against Houston. Not a good weekend for the Big 12. Now, luckily, BYU was on a bye.
Mm-hmm.
So the undefeated Cougars couldn't go down because they weren't playing a game. But Iowa State goes down. Remember, that's Kansas State's second loss. That's their second conference loss. You start looking at the big picture, and it's about that time of the year where we start talking about what the playoff picture could look like. I It may be a one-team situation for the Big 12, which kind of feels like a disaster if you're the Big 12.
With where they were 3 days ago, yes. But now, I mean, what's interesting is, BYU is sitting there undefeated, 5-0 in conference play. Then you got Iowa State and Colorado with one loss in conference, and Kansas State, Tech, Cincinnati. I mean, there's a bunch with two losses.
And remember, Kansas State and Iowa State, Farmageddon's last week of the year this year. So one of those teams has taken another loss.
One of those teams has taken another loss. And Colorado is, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
BYU's got Utah, Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston left. Those are all very winnable for them. They should play in the Big 12 title game. And when you look at the overall picture for the Big 12 when it comes to making the playoff, I think Colorado has the second best chance when you look at the remaining schedule.
Yeah.
So not exactly an ideal situation for the Big 12 conference, but it's wildly entertaining, man. I really don't care about how many teams they get in the playoff. We knew this conference was going to be super competitive. It feels pretty even across the board from a talent perspective, and that's what makes it fun. But it does feel like at the end of the season that could cost them.
Well, yeah, and you have that, which may be costly, but it's fun to watch, though. It's super competitive, which is great, but it may cost them a playoff spot. But the crazy thing is Oklahoma State, who was one of the favorites going in, they're 0-6 in conference play. And they haven't had like some massive spate of injuries, have they? I mean, all of their big time players, like their skill position players, has their offensive line been beaten up or something? Is most of their main players are that I know of. I haven't watched it nearly as closely, but just did not. I expected Oklahoma State to be really, really competitive this year with all of the guys that they had coming back. It's pretty wild with where they are at the moment, having lost 6 straight games, all conference. And somehow they beat Arkansas.
Yeah, that is, well, maybe it's not one of the most head scratching results of the year. Arkansas is hard to figure out as well.
They are.
Let's finish up with my winner and loser of the weekend. But first,
we're brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. The holiday season is just around the corner. We're all looking for ways to spend and stress less. HelloFresh makes mealtime nearly hassle-free with delicious, home-delivered, chef-crafted recipes that come together quick and are less expensive than takeout. And with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. My wife and I made HelloFresh's pecan-crusted chicken with honey mustard sauce and lemony apple salad. Easy to make, healthy, delicious. It's so easy to follow the instructions. It only took 30 minutes. HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week, tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date, or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown. And it's applied across 7 boxes, and it's new subscribers only, and it varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
And this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month is all about gratitude, and therapy can help you discover what truly you appreciate in life. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. Sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make every sense that it's crazy world. Try to figure it all out. It's not easy. It's what therapy could be for, man. I saw a therapist when I was in the NFL, really stressed out, bottom of the roster life, not fun. That helped me deal with all that stuff. I'm a big believer in therapy and believe that it can help so many people if you're just willing to try it. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you go from there. You can even switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Therapy can help you discover what you're truly thankful for in life. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. My word of the weekend. What, you thought I was going to talk about more college football? Give me the Oklahoma City Thunder, baby. 3 games in 4 nights, Ted. Went 3-0. Squad is looking good. You got to see them in person on Wednesday now on Wednesday night. Shout out to Brian and Mike for having us
Yes.
as their guests for that game. What'd you think? What did you think of the squad?
I think they look really good. It feels like they have first and foremost, it's probably talked about the least, but maybe one of the most important things is the chemistry of the football or the basketball team. I think it looks like the team really likes each other. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of ego there. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of guys that feel like they have to get theirs first and foremost. I just really like the vibe of the overall team. And, you're going to have nights where you just don't hit shots, but you can compete and play well on defense every night. And that seems to be what they really hang their hat on. I know they got great offensive players, and I'm not saying they don't, but it feels, at least mentality wise, that this is a defense driven basketball team.
I agree completely. I still think it's absurd that you said you would go out on the court and grab the ball and punt it in the stands for $1 million.
Why
But
not? $1 million?
I just I feel like you got a lot going for you. I feel like the price tag needs to be bigger for you.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. It may be good for it may have been the best thing that could happen for the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something to think
The
about,
offer's
people.
still there. If anyone wants to pony up $1 million, I will walk onto any basketball game that is playing in live action, grab the basketball, and punt it into the upper deck for $1 million.
You heard the man, people. So they beat San Antonio Wednesday night. Then they had a little West Coast trip. Beat Portland on Friday night. Had the back to back in just a massive third quarter against the Trailblazers. Just smacked them in the face in the third. Game was over. And then beat the Clippers on Saturday night with a very strong fourth quarter performance. And would you look at that? 6-0. You think about all the expectations for this team, and they're living up to all of them. And one of the things you mentioned the defense, like against San Antonio, we watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander struggle shooting the ball, but that didn't affect the way that he played on the defensive end of the floor. And I think that if your leader, your best player, has that mentality and that level of buy-in on the defensive end of the floor, even if he's not hitting shots, that kind of just sets the tone for everyone else. And then he bounces back nicely with 30 points in 28 minutes against Portland. I think he shot like 50% against the Clippers. But you look at these last 3 wins for the Thunder, the defense is going to be there night in and night out. Now, they'll have some nights where, hey, teams shoot it really well. That happens in the NBA. There's a lot of shot variance. That's just part of it. But they shot 41% from 3 against San Antonio. They shot 38% from 3 against Portland. And then they shot 41% from 3 against the Clippers. If they shoot the 3 around 40%, there are very, very few nights where they're going to lose because of the defense that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So there's so much to be excited about. You look at the 6 wins. They've held their opponent under 100 4 times in the 6 games. I mean, it is. I'm trying not to just get irrationally excited about this season, but we're getting to that point.
I mean, it's almost to the point where you're the only person that hasn't picked the Thunder to win the title.
I
And I don't need
I'm
I'm that's not
starting to expect them to be there.
I'm not pressuring you into anything.
No, no,
I'm
no.
just explaining like
This
every
is
time I come across someone nationally talking about the Thunder, it's them saying they're the best team in the NBA and there's really not even a conversation.
there's a conversation between the defending champs, the Celtics, and the Thunder right now. There's definitely a conversation. And how about the Cavs? I think what are they 7-0? How about that? But I this is the best way to put it. My wife and I, we are big planners.
Mm-hmm.
Our April to June is there's nothing planned.
Yeah.
Got to keep it open. Playoff basketball in Oklahoma City, baby.
Yep.
You can't plan a vacation in June. You just can't. Can't do it. Won't do it.
I do have one question. They are talked about how good they are defensively. How much better, or will it be better? How much will, when they get Hartenstein back defensively, how much of an effect is that going to have?
Yeah, I think it'll be a matchup dependent thing with Hartenstein. Just because that'll take some of the pressure off of Chet. When it comes to having to really bang and with some of the bigger centers around the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can just be kind of a guy that roams and helps. And it feels like it'll even open up Chet to block more shots, which is kind of crazy to think about.
End up being a help side guy a little more.
I think that that'll free him up. And he can still, there will still be stretches in those types of games where Chet is playing center and guarding the other team's big man. But if he can just get a couple minutes here and there where he's not just having to grind on the defensive end of the floor and bang and like use that much energy doing that, just think of how much better he could be overall, which is scary to think of because he's been incredible so far this season.
And for me, I think it is a big positive with how bad Hartenstein dresses. There's not going to be a whole lot of uh, just not going to be like a real flashy guy. It's like he's going to end up being the type of player that I like. I mean, because he dresses horribly, so I know that I don't know, that can't be a big part of his personality.
If you're wondering where that's coming from, people, Hartenstein was wearing. There was a 20-minute conversation between us four about the shirt he was wearing.
Trying to figure out what was going on.
I spent an embarrassing amount of time laying in bed after that game trying to find a similar shirt to send you in the mail and to send Brian in the mail. And I couldn't find anything like it. I tried all kinds of different descriptions. Couldn't find anything close.
You didn't find a gigantic bed sheet type dress shirt that appears to maybe be in two pieces?
Couldn't find it.
Huh. To pair with, I don't know, cut off slacks, or I don't know what those were. And pair them. Do I remember a chain wallet in those pants as well?
Correct.
Yeah. So
It was something. Fashion, Ted. It's called fashion, buddy. Deal with it. Yeah, that was interesting. All right, for my loser of the weekend. Wait, Thunder are really good. Very excited.
yes.
Very,
Yep.
very excited. Going to be an awesome season. We will be updating you quite a bit in winners and losers until we transition to football guys talking basketball, and then we'll hit Thunder in that. But there's a lot of football, a lot of college football, especially to be played before we make that transition. My loser of the weekend. I thought about going with that offensive line coach from ULM. What in the world was that guy doing?
I couldn't tell from the clip. It looked like he sent him onto the field,
Hey, buddy,
and
relax. It's not that serious.
I'm guessing that was the head coach that was there, going like, "Just calm down, we're fine." To
It,
like, it's he was not calming down.
I, I, the only thing I could think of was, hey, just too much pre-workout before the game. Too much caffeine in the system.
Yeah,
There's a
caffeine.
certain intensity you have to have when you're an O-line coach, but come on, man.
That looked
Relax.
like it was past the caffeine stage.
Yeah. He, maybe a real valuation of some life choices for that guy. That was a lot.
A lot.
But my loser of the weekend, the Clemson Tigers had gotten it rolling since the blowout loss to Georgia in the opener. And I think a lot of people were just assuming they were on their way to running the table the rest of the season, going and playing for an ACC title, maybe winning that game and being in the playoff. There was a lot of chatter. Oh, all you people that left Clemson for dead. What now? Well, Louisville's perimeter run game, that's what's now.
Mm-hmm.
Gashing them, Ted. Outside zone. Pin pull. Attacking the perimeter. I was sitting there going, oh, this is the stuff. Beautiful, beautiful execution from Louisville. Isaac Brown had himself a day, 151 yards and a touchdown. And let's be real, Clemson got rolled at home.
It's the
That was
strangest
a
thing.
very disappointing performance from Clemson. Like Louisville showed up, pushed them around, and walked out of there with a double-digit win.
It's crazy. Like I'm looking at the stats. First downs, Clemson had 31 to Louisville's 19. Third down, Clemson was 11 to 23, Louisville 4 of 12. Clemson was 5 of 6 on fourth down conversions. They outgained them 450 to 366. They didn't turn the ball over at all. They had less penalties, 5 penalties for only 39 yards. They rushed the ball for more yards. They had possession almost 38 minutes to 22 minutes. It's crazy. They won almost every single metric on the stat sheet and got routed.
Missed a couple field goals or had a couple field goals blocked.
Yeah.
Couldn't score touchdowns. They did a little bit in the fourth quarter, but it was too late. Too little, too late. I mean,
Wow.
you can rack up yards all you want, man, but it comes down to scoring points in this game.
Got to be able to finish.
Got to be able to finish drives. And now you look at it, Clemson needs help to play for the ACC title now. Miami and SMU. How about the ponies this weekend? My goodness.
Hmm.
Beat the hell out of Pitt.
And
But Miami and SMU, both undefeated in ACC play. Remember, those two teams don't play each other. They also don't play Clemson.
yeah.
So Clemson needs them to drop one.
And what's crazy is Clemson doesn't lose at home over like Dabo's tenure there. Like their record at home is incredible.
Their fans, do you see that?
Yeah.
They did not take the officials' ruling on the onside kick situation. They didn't take it well, throwing a bunch of stuff on the field. They did it all wrong, Ted. You have to throw this stuff on the field before they announce the ruling of the
Mhm.
review.
That's right.
That's how you scare them into giving them what you want. You don't do it after they've told you the
No.
answer you don't want. That's not how it works. You have to intimidate them before they announce what they've decided.
You
Come
have
on,
to
guys. What are we doing?
influence the decision before it's made.
Yeah.
And I was, we had the game on the quad box. Okay. So I wasn't super dialed into everything. Sometimes I feel like whenever I do that, I watch all the games, but I don't watch any of them, if that makes sense. And I was struck by just physically how good of a football team Louisville looks like. I mean, it looks like they've got legit players both sides of the ball. Like
I agree.
they stack up really well.
They absolutely do. Now their defense has not been some juggernaut,
Right.
but they went out there and put together a winning performance. I I find Tyler Shuck to be wildly entertaining. Like the guy goes somersaulting into the end zone, and I'm just like, this guy's awesome. I love watching this guy. But I thought that Louisville's run game was the difference in the game, and then Clemson's inability to finish drives. What the only other thing about this game? What the hell was Dabo doing? Not going for two. They score a touchdown at the 6 minute mark in the fourth quarter. The touchdown makes it 23, or excuse me, 20. The touchdown makes it 26-13. And they kick the PAT to make it a 12-point game. Somewhat, he gets paid a lot of money to know that you got to go for two there and make it an 11-point game. I unless I'm missing something. Maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I don't understand the math.
No,
But that was, I
you
think
got
it
to you
was,
steal a possession that way, turn into a two possession game.
I think it was Bob Wischusen on the call.
Mm-hmm.
He straight up called Dabo out. Like, what are they doing? And I was sitting there going, he's right. What are they doing? I I don't know how something like that happens. That was crazy to me, but
Maybe
I
he knew they were going to give up a touchdown on the first play of the next drive.
very possible. I I said it after they lost to Georgia, and it's not just because they lost to Louisville the way that they did, but it's because I believe it. Clemson is not going to be a national title contender. Like they're not going to be a serious national title contender until Dabo Swinney changes the way that he builds his roster.
What do you think is their biggest?
Wide receiver.
Yeah, just the playmaker ability.
Their longest play, I think, was 22 yards in this game. And remember,
Longest
Louisville
pass,
is
right?
not, it's not like Louisville's rolling out an elite secondary, this elite defense. That is not what they have been. And I think, yeah, the longest pass, 22 yards. Longest play from scrimmage, Phil Maffa, who I really like, had a
24.
24-yard run. And this is Clemson. And it's not like it's Georgia's defense, it's Louisville's.
Right.
Their longest play from scrimmage was 24 yards. Their longest pass was 22 yards. That is not good enough. Where are the explosive plays, man?
Yeah, the Wesco kid, I mean, he's a freshman, but that was like he's like one of the highest rated receivers coming out of high school in a while. I mean, people thought he was going to be otherworldly, and he's just a freshman. Maybe he ends up becoming that, but I mean, you feel like they need to add some big time playmakers, or maybe the truth is just that the Clemson offense really just still is not kicked into gear like they want it to be.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if they're able to make it to an ACC title game. We'll see if they can sneak into the playoff. But I just think until something changes, the days of them being some seriously you're considering about picking to win a national title, I just think those days are gone.
Well, and you're still SMU's got a realistic chance to win the ACC. BYU, which I still consider a newcomer to the Big 12. Colorado's still in it. Oregon in the Big 10. Texas and the SEC, the newcomers making a big impression this year. Fun to see.
Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world, Thomas Dean Webster.
Happy second birthday to Henry Webster.
Happy 7th birthday to Greer Cooper.
And happy 39th birthday to Cody Cooper.
I don't know how this podcast was this long.
I know.
I don't feel like we rambled. Did we ramble? Were we rambling?
We spent a lot of time breaking down those 3 games. We spent a lot of time talking about Indiana.
They deserve it.
Yep.
Episode 471 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.